Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from Outkick. This is dated November 20th, and it says updated on November 22nd. It says, Ordinary Americans versus Left-Wing Extremism is the real culture war. And I think the presidential election that we just had proved that. And let's go ahead and see what the author of the article has to say. It says, the actual culture war in America is a divide between left-wing extremists and ordinary Americans. Donald Trump's decisive victory over Kamala Harris proves that. As I just said, wow, I predicted the first sentence of the article. Yay. So according to the Democratic firm Blueprint, swing voters named inflation and immigration as the main two reasons for not supporting Harris in the 2024 election, because she's a reason why both of those things are out of control. Says that was expected, but the third reason was more telling. The firm found that swing voters felt Harris focused more on culture war issues than helping the middle class. In fact, this was the most frequent criticism among swing voters who broke for Trump at plus 28. As the voters specifically referenced a dissatisfaction with Harris's views on transgenderism, which included exploiting taxpayer funds to pay for prisoners and illegal aliens to have sex change surgeries, which is one of those things that's so crazy that you don't believe it until you actually hear her say it, and then you're like, this is real? But yes, it is. Is how could she and her party have possibly thought such use of taxpayer money would be popular with the American people? Put simply, the Democratic Party was duped. Around 2016, the far left took majority control of what Douglas McKinnon calls the 5 major megaphones of our nation. And what is this linked to before I go over the 5 major megaphones? A Fox News article, okay. And let's see here. So the 5 major megaphones of our nation are the media, academia, entertainment, science, and medicine. I'd even argue that they had control of it before that. But it just seemed 2016 was the year, of course, Trump won the election and broke everybody's brains. It says, with a near monopoly of the message, the far left convinced the Democratic Party that a neo-Marxist ideology, often referred to as woke, was the answer to the current and past ills of America. At its core, wokeism refers to a social condition that punishes and rewards citizens based on their identity, and Trump is the antithesis, the chief target of the movement. But perception is not always attached to reality. In this case, the voices behind the megaphone were at odds with the interests and concerns of the people. Notably, just 8% of the electorate supports woke politics. So there's the number you need to keep in mind. Whenever these folks seem a lot larger than they are, they're really only 8% of the population. I always thought it was kind of like 10%. I might have just been rounding it off to 10 just to make it a little easier. Because if you do 5s or 10s, it just seems a little easier to do, like numbers and stuff. But 8% seems about right too. But because they have control of everything, it seems like they're a lot larger than they actually are. So, while the Democrats have spent the past 8 years trying to pit Americans against Trump on the basis of race, gender, and sexual orientation, they have, in return, distanced themselves further from average voters. They made Trump more popular. So John Byrne Murdoch, the Financial Times chief data reporter, organized a chart last week to demonstrate how the Democrats' approach to cultural issues shifted the party sharply leftward, leaving the median voter behind. And here is the chart. And yeah, you can take a look at it yourself, but yeah, you can see like the Dems is like straight up and then over there, and same with over here on immigration. This is who support affirmative action. This is net percentage for increasing or cutting immigration, just goes over there as well. So yeah, so consequently, Democrats have lunged so far to the left that they dismiss dissenters as far right. In actuality, many of the voters they dismiss are normal, moderate voters of all races. And notably, Trump made gains with the very demographic groups that Democrats implored to fear him. That'd be women, black people, Hispanics, and young Americans. Kamala Harris and her campaign were under the illusion that they could win support among minority voters by promoting racial hysteria. The strategy has worked in the past. Race was the focus of Michelle Obama's highly praised speech at the 2024 Democratic National Convention, in which she and her husband repeatedly referred to black Americans as we and told them that they had no choice but to support Harris. Yeah, that ain't a good message, is that you look like us, so you have to support us. Yeah, that doesn't work. So we will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth, Michelle told the crowd in Chicago. You mean like you are right now? It says, Kamala understands that most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward, which Kamala, yeah, is she trying to say that Kamala has failed forward? Because that's actually true. So if things don't go our way, we don't have the luxury of whining or cheating others to get further ahead. Okay. Wait, they're saying that this speech was praised? I mean, if that's like the content of it, how was it praised? But anyway, it says catchy. It says, but Blueprint found that black voters are not nearly as racially grieved as the Democrats thought. When asked if racism is built into society, 13% more white progressives, that's at 75%, said yes than black Americans. Yeah, so it's a white progressive problem here. So it says, go figure. Democrats ordered black Americans to see racism when they look at the GOP. Instead, during the Biden-Harris administration, black people saw drastically rising prices of food, gas, and rent. It says the votes are in. They don't want your pity, and black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves, Bill Maher said in a monologue directed at the Democratic Party on Friday. So this would have been articles from the 20th, would have been the Friday beforehand. What was that? The 15th. So the Bill Maher show or whatever in Real Time with Bill Maher, that's what it is, from November 15th. Continuing on. It says, likewise, women are not as easily manipulated as the Harris campaign made them out to be. Using abortion as a scare tactic to prevent women from voting for Trump works in theory. However, women were already scared. They are scared of violent crime, not being able to pay their bills, and walking into a bathroom with a biological man who asks them to help put back on his dress. As Democrats called Republicans running campaign ads to keep men out of women's sports anti-trans. Not quite. The ads were refreshing to a nation in which 72% of registered voters oppose transgender-identifying males competing in women's sports. And by the way, 72% is considered overwhelming. So that's a vast majority of America agrees on that issue. As Americans don't see Trump's preferred policies as hateful rhetoric either. They see it as a necessity to keep their children from experiencing the same fate as Laken Riley, whom an illegal thug murdered because Democrats opened the border to avoid accusations of xenophobia. And no, voters don't want their government pushing social media companies to censor them. A new poll from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression found that 63% of voters are concerned about the state of free speech in the country, and it's the far left that's trying to get rid of it. So if there was ever a group that really needed to log off, turn off the television, and touch grass, it's the Democrats. Trump didn't radicalize the Republican Party. The Democratic Party radicalized itself with an unhealthy obsession with trying to destroy him. It says these hacks still don't get it. We will never care more about identity politics and checking a box more than we care about feeding our families and securing our communities. Trump broke their brains in 2016. He's been living rent-free in them ever since, Outkick host Tommy Lahren said in a comment for the article. The Democrats sold their vision of society as a utopia of equality. Americans saw the results. Left-wing extremist takeover of American culture made us more divided, racially obsessed, and more importantly, and most importantly, dependent on the people in charge. There is a cultural reckoning happening. Athletes and public figures who were previously afraid to show support for Trump now proudly wear his hat and perform his groovy dance moves. Yeah, you're seeing that kind of everywhere. It says, but like the 2024 election, the cultural support for Donald Trump is not just about Donald Trump. It's also a referendum on the Democratic Party's embrace of a fringe left-wing ideology. This past month was a complete rejection of an extremist cultural rot that spiraled out of control and ate away at the very foundation of this country. Trump didn't create the culture war. His rise to the highest office in the land is a symptom of the culture war. Yeah, and that's what people have been saying for years at this point, is that Donald Trump was not what is it called? No, he was not the symptom. He was the conclusion to that. It's basically, Obama was the symptom. So as most Americans don't want to live in a nation beholden to a hierarchy of victimhood. Whether they are Trump supporters or not, they don't see the slogan, Make America Great Again, as a reference to reverting America back to the days when people of color and women couldn't vote. Yeah, it was never about that. Okay? It was much as the left destroying the country and Trump coming in trying to say we need to just get back to where we were and be great again. That's it. It says they see the slogan as a reference to the only answer they have to save their culture from the pompous, out-of-touch white progressive trying to rewrite it. On election night, ordinary Americans voted to wrest back control of their culture. And there you go. Pretty in-depth article. I like it, and I think he's right about everything here. So Democrats have become beholden to their far left base, which is only 8% of the overall population, and Republicans, as you can see here on this chart, have kind of remained the same. So that is what I have to say here. So do you agree with this or not? Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.